Are you struggling to create a resume that stands out to APS recruiters? Having a tailored resume is important in landing a job within the Australian Public Service. In this video, I'll tell you what you need to consider when you're updating your resume for the APS. Hey, my name is V from Cracking the APS Code. I've been in the Australian Public Service now for over 10 years in various roles from frontline policy work, business support, and organization transformation. What you can expect from this video today is learning what recruiters are looking for in your resume, including the differences between APS resumes and resumes for the private sector. The key elements or components that a resume should have, as well as some additional tips to help you get going. While the core principles of effective resume writing remain the same across both sectors, there are some nuances to consider when crafting a resume for the Australian Public Service. There are 5 key points of differences. So number 1 is structure and format. 2, level of detail. 3, key skills and achievements. 4, language and tone. And 5, the level of tailoring. For structure and format, resumes in the APS are generally longer and more detailed. The agency even gives sometimes their own template to use and fill out, which demands a fair bit of detail. Though I find that there's more flexibility in resumes nowadays, and keeping the resume to 2 pages is perfectly acceptable, but I keep it to no more than 3 pages at most. Next, layout should be simple, even a bit plain and not too visually loud. While in the private sector, resumes tend to be shorter and more visually appealing, often focusing on key achievements and skills. In terms of level of detail, as already hinted in the previous point, recruiters often require a fair bit of detail, including specific dates, responsibilities, and achievements. Even your previous APS levels if you've been in the public service before. This helps them assess your suitability against the role selection criteria. While in the private sector, detail can be important, a more concise approach may be more effective, highlighting key accomplishments and skills. Private sector doesn't have to go through the level of due diligence that the government has to go through in recruiting, so that's why government demands a fair bit of detail. For your skills and achievements, emphasize skills that align with the APS values and competencies, such as teamwork, communication, and problem solving. Highlight achievements that demonstrate your ability to contribute to public service goals and meet the selection criteria. If you don't know what the APS values are, please look them up. Also, each department or agency has their local set of values as well that you should familiarize yourself with. Of course, you can align your resume with the role that you're applying for as well. In the private sector, however, the main focus is on your skills that directly relate to the specific role and company. For language and tone, for your APS resume, use clear, concise, and objective language. Avoid jargon or overly technical terms. You may think that you have to use public service speak in your writing. This is changing, luckily. More and more agencies are moving towards plain English, with good reason, which I won't get into at length here today. The point here is that clarity is key in any piece of communication that you do. And this stands true regardless if you're working for private or government. For private, what I would add is, while clarity is essential, you may be able to use more persuasive language to highlight your strengths and achievements. Finally, for the level of tailoring that you need to do for your APS resume, I think it's more important for APS resumes that you tailor as much as you can to the role and selection criteria. And if you can front end as much as you can under your most recent work experiences to keep the hiring managers interested, that is to your advantage. For private, while tailoring is important, it may be less critical, especially for roles that don't have detailed selection criteria. And in some cases, private might emphasize more on cultural fit, demeanor, and potential. As well as those points of differences between public and private, here are some additional tips at rapid fire. You got to research. Familiarize yourself with APS values, competencies, and your specific role you're applying for. Quantify your achievements using metrics and data to demonstrate your impact. Proofread carefully. Ensure that your resume is error-free and professionally presented. That goes without saying. By understanding these key differences, you can create a resume that effectively showcases your experience, your qualifications, and stand out from the crowd. All right, so let's get into the essential sections of a resume. In other words, the most essential parts of your resume that you absolutely must have for your resume to be impactful. The essential section number 1, contact information. Make sure that your contact details are clear and correct, and worst thing is that you put down the wrong number or the wrong email. And make sure that it's easy to see. I would have it either in the header or the footer. Next is your summary statement. This is where you have a brief overview of skills and career objectives that align with APS roles. A good place to also show how you align with the APS values. Usually this sits at the top of your resume, and that sets the scene for the rest of the document. Of course, you now have the segment on your professional experience. This is where you emphasize your relevant experience, focusing on outcomes and achievements. This, of course, makes up the bulk of your resume. Order this part in reverse chronological order, where you put the most recent work experience at the top and then you backtrack from there. Whatever work experience that you mention, especially your latest 3, tailor it to the selection criteria as much as you can. Another essential component of your resume is your education and qualifications. Include relevant degrees and certifications. But just a quick note on that, although some roles might desire candidates that have a degree in a certain field, there are many public service jobs that don't require a degree as long as you can demonstrate your skills and experience. And that leads nicely into the last essential section of your resume, your skills. Highlight key skills relevant to the APS role, such as communication, leadership, etc. So what are the key elements recruiters are looking for? Now, this of course varies from person to person, but for government, there are 5 nuances that recruiters might take into consideration. First is alignment with APS values. Ensure that the resume reflects the core values of the APS. This can be evidenced in your work experience or in your professional summary. Second, clear evidence of achievements. Use quantitative metrics where possible to demonstrate your success. So, for example, researched and implemented new workflow system that resulted in an increase in efficiency by 20%. Third, relevant experience. Prioritize experience that directly relates to the role. Try to front end all your relevant experience in the last 3 roles that you had to increase your chances of hiring managers staying engaged with your application. Fourth, brevity and clarity. Resumes should be clear, concise, and formatted for easy reading. Don't give them any reason to disengage. And lastly, adherence to the selection criteria. Ensure that qualifications and experiences directly address the selection criteria that you've applied for. Alright, so to wrap up today's video, here are some things to note. Understanding the differences between a resume for government versus private. Things like structure, length, language, tone, level of detail, and tailoring to the role needs to be kept in mind. Essential sections in a public service resume, well, in fact, I would say all resumes, are contact information, summary statement, professional experience, qualification and education, and your skills. The thing that APS recruiters and hiring managers are looking for are things like alignment to APS values, clear evidence of achievements that you can do the job, alignment to the selection criteria, and remember to keep it clear and concise. Recruiters are looking at so many applications, it's critical to make their lives easier by making your resume clear, easy to read, and immediately demonstrates your ability to do the job you're applying for. So this takes us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention. Once you've got your resume brushed up and aligned to the role, it's then time to do your statement against the selection criteria or your selection criteria response. How I see it is with resumes, it's about telling your prospective employer what you did for your previous employer, while your cover letter or your selection criteria response can be used as an opportunity to tell your new employer what you can do for them. So, if you want to learn about a repeatable process that takes the headache out of writing your cover letter or selection criteria response, I've got a free guide to help you do just that by leveraging AI, and it's down in the description box below. Please stay tuned for more videos. Let me know if you want to see more content or what kind of content you'd like to see in the comments below. And if you need more support in certain areas, I'd like to tailor my content for you and based on your needs. And until next time, I wish you a very good day and ciao.